Andre Lewis didn't come to the police station because he wanted to. He came because someone had broken into his car outside his apartment building. Smashed window, glove box dumped, backpack gone. It wasn't just stuff. The backpack had his work laptop, a folder with signed client paperwork, and a flash drive he kept like a habit from old jobs. Backups, scanned IDs, receipts, the little pieces of life you don't think about until they're missing. Andre had done everything right. He called it in the moment he saw the glass glittering on the pavement. He waited for the officer. He answered questions calmly. He kept his hands visible. He didn't raise his voice when the officer asked, twice, if the car was really his. He gave the license, the registration, the insurance, all of it. The officer took notes on a small tablet and said the line Andre had heard before. "We'll file the report. You'll get a case number." Andre asked for the case number then. He didn't want to get trapped in the vague fog of, "We'll follow up." The officer, white guy, maybe mid-30s, sandy hair, tired eyes, paused like Andre had asked for a favor. "You'll get it in the system," the officer said. "Give it a day." Andre nodded. "Can you write it down anyway?" The officer gave a tight smile. "It'll be in the system." Then he left. A day passed, then two. Andre called the non-emergency line. The woman who answered sounded bored before he even spoke. "What's your case number?" she asked. "That's what I'm trying to get," Andre replied. "It was filed 2 nights ago, vehicle burglary." A sigh, like Andre had personally created her workload. "Without a case number, I can't look it up." Andre said, "I can give you the address, time, my name, my license plate." "We need the case number," she repeated, slower, as if Andre's comprehension was the issue. Andre forced his tone calm. "Okay, how do I get it?" "You should have gotten it from the officer," she said. "If you didn't, you need to go to records." Records. That was how bureaucracy became a loop. They send you to the place that sends you back. So on Friday morning, Andre took an hour off work and drove to the station. He wore a clean hoodie and dark jeans, nothing flashy. He kept his wallet in his front pocket. He left his hands visible on the steering wheel when he parked, out of habit, even though he was alone. The building sat like a concrete block under gray sky. No welcome signs, no warmth, just a big seal on the front and a set of heavy glass doors that opened with a buzz. Inside, the air smelled like disinfectant and old paper. A metal detector stood at the entrance, with a uniformed white security officer leaning beside it, arms crossed. A few plastic chairs lined the wall, and a counter window separated visitors from the rest of the station, like a bank that didn't trust its customers. Andre approached the counter. A white woman behind the glass looked up from her computer. Late 30s, tight bun, navy cardigan, the expression of someone who didn't like surprises. Her nameplate read, "Sandra Klein, Records." She didn't smile. "Next." Andre leaned slightly forward so she could hear him without raising his voice. "Hi, I'm trying to get a copy of a police report from a vehicle break-in. I called, but they said I need the case number. I didn't receive it." Sandra's eyes flicked over him quickly, face, clothes, posture, then back to her screen. "Name?" "Andre Lewis," she typed. "Date of incident?" "Wednesday night, around 10:40 p.m. I reported it right away." Sandra clicked and typed, lips pressed into a thin line. "Address?" Andre gave it. Sandra paused, then typed again, slower. "You sure it was this station?" Andre blinked. "Yes, the officer came from here." Sandra's expression didn't change. "We don't have anything under that name." Andre felt his chest tighten. He kept his voice steady. "Could it be under my license plate?" Sandra's tone was flat. "We'd see it if it existed." Andre held his breath for a beat. "It does exist. An officer came. He took my statement. Sandra's eyes lifted, cool. Mr. Lewis, if there's no report in the system, there's no report. The sentence landed heavy because it wasn't just about a document. It was about reality being treated like an opinion. Andre kept his expression neutral, carefully neutral. He knew what happened when black men looked too upset in places like this. The story shifted. You became the problem instead of the person with the problem. Can you check by address and incident type? Andre asked. Vehicle burglary, broken window. Sandra sighed. I just did. Andre's jaw tightened. Then what happens to reports that are taken in the field but not showing up, like if it's pending upload? Sandra's mouth pinched. That's not how it works. Andre lowered his voice, not out of fear, but to make it sharper. I'm not leaving without a case number. My insurance requires the report. Sandra leaned back in her chair slightly, a subtle motion that created distance. Then you need to make a report. Andre stared. I did. Sandra's eyes narrowed. Then make another. Andre felt heat rise, and he swallowed it down. So you're telling me I need to report the same crime twice because your system can't find the first report? Sandra's tone hardened. I'm telling you what I can see. I can't give you what isn't here. A chair scraped behind Andre. He didn't turn around, but he felt the space tightening, the quiet attention of people waiting, listening. A white man in a work jacket watched with mild curiosity. A woman with a stroller looked away quickly when Andre glanced in her direction, like eye contact might become involvement. Andre swallowed again, then said calmly, Please call the officer who responded, or your supervisor. Someone can check the dispatch log. There's a record the call happened. Sandra's eyebrows lifted slightly, irritated. Dispatch is not records. Andre nodded. Then connect me to someone who can verify the call, because it happened. Sandra's gaze went briefly to the security officer near the metal detector. Andre noticed. It wasn't dramatic, just a glance, but it carried a message. If you keep pushing, you'll become a security issue. Andre felt his pulse jump, then steadied it by force. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't slap the counter. He didn't do anything that could be reframed as disruptive. He simply repeated, with controlled clarity, I need someone to locate the report using the call history. Sandra's smile appeared, thin and cold. Sir, there is no call history we can access without a case number. Andre stared at her through the glass. That doesn't make sense. Sandra shrugged. That's the policy. Andre exhaled slowly. Can I see that policy in writing? Sandra's smile vanished. We're not doing this. Andre felt the familiar weight settle on his shoulders, the one that came from arguing with a wall while being told the wall was reality. He softened his voice even more, like a blade hidden in fabric. What is your full name? Sandra blinked. Excuse me? Your full name, Andre repeated calmly. For my insurance notes, and for my records. Sandra's expression snapped into suspicion. Why do you need my name? Andre didn't flinch. Because you're telling me a report doesn't exist. I'm documenting what I'm being told, by whom, and when. Sandra's eyes hardened. Mr. Lewis, are you threatening me? Andre's stomach dropped, because there it was, the pivot. Documentation becomes threat. Accountability becomes aggression. He kept his hands visible on the counter edge, palms relaxed. No, I'm asking for your name. That's not a threat. Sandra reached under the counter and pressed something, an intercom button or silent alert. Andre couldn't see what it was, but he saw the movement. The security officer near the entrance shifted, looking over. Andre didn't move. He didn't step back. He didn't step forward. He waited. A moment later, a door behind the counter opened, and a white man in a button-down shirt and tie walked out. Mid-50s, gray hair. The kind of calm that came from being the person people called when someone was difficult. His badge read, Lieutenant Greg Harris. He approached the window and looked at Sandra first. "What's going on?" Sandra spoke fast, shaping the story immediately. "He says we lost his report. There's nothing in the system, and he's demanding—" Andre cut in softly, not over her, but into the space before her story could harden. "Lieutenant, I'm trying to get a case number for a vehicle break-in I reported Wednesday night. I didn't receive it. Record says there's no report under my name. I'm asking that someone check the dispatch log or the case number history by address and time, because the officer came." Lieutenant Harris looked at Andre now, eyes scanning like he was measuring Andre's tone for danger. "What's your name?" Harris asked. "Andre Lewis." "What time did the officer respond?" "About 10:40 p.m. Wednesday. I can pull up my call log if you need it." Harris's expression flickered slightly at that. "You called 911. "Non-emergency," Andre corrected calmly. "I can show the timestamp." Sandra scoffed quietly, as if Andre showing evidence was annoying. Harris held up a hand without looking at her. "Sandra, did you search by address and date range?" Sandra's lips tightened. "Yes." Harris turned slightly. "Show me." Sandra swiveled her monitor. Harris leaned in. Andre could see none of the screen, only the posture shift. Harris focusing, Sandra stiffening. Harris frowned. "You searched exact name only." Sandra's voice got defensive. "That's the fastest method." Harris's tone sharpened. "Search by address and incident type, and broaden the date range." Sandra's fingers moved, sharp clicks. "It'll be the same." Harris didn't answer. He just watched. Andre stood still, heart thudding, feeling the room's gaze on his back like heat. The security officer had stepped closer, but not into the conversation, just close enough to remind Andre that the station was ready to treat persistence as a problem. Sandra clicked again, then she paused. A little too long. Harris leaned closer. "What is that?" Sandra's face tightened. "It's a placeholder entry." "Harris, read it." Sandra hesitated, then spoke carefully. "Incident, vehicle burglary, status. Submitted, pending approval." Andre felt his chest loosen by a fraction. Harris's eyes narrowed. "Pending approval means the report exists. It just hasn't been finalized." Sandra's cheeks flushed. "It's not searchable by name if it's pending." Andre kept his voice calm, but it carried. "So you told me there was no report, when there was." Sandra snapped. "I told you what I could see." Harris cut her off, firm. "You could have seen this if you searched properly." Silence. The security officer stopped moving. The people in the chairs looked away, suddenly uncomfortable. Andre didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He just stood there, steady, letting the truth land without theatrics. Harris turned to Andre. "Mr. Lewis, it looks like the responding officer submitted it, but it's in a pending queue. It hasn't been assigned a final case number yet." Andre nodded once. "Okay, then how do I get the number my insurance needs?" Harris looked back at Sandra. "Generate the temporary case reference from the submission history. That should satisfy insurance while it's pending." Sandra's mouth tightened. "We don't usually—" Harris's tone became steel. "Do it." Sandra's fingers moved again, slower now, like each click hurt her pride. Andre watched her without blinking, because he knew how this worked. When someone tried to erase your reality, the only thing that fixed it was making the right person look at the right screen. And now, finally, someone was looking. Harris glanced at Andre. "Give her 2 minutes. We'll get you something today." Andre's voice stayed quiet and controlled. "Thank you." But inside, the gratitude tangled with something bitter. Because it shouldn't have required a lieutenant to confirm a thing that was true from the beginning. And Andre knew, he knew with the certainty of lived pattern, that if he hadn't stayed calm, if he hadn't insisted, if he hadn't asked for names and logs, the station would have sent him away to make another report and start the whole process over. They would have called it policy. He would have called it erasure. Sandra's printer whirred behind the glass. Harris remained there, watching, making sure the process didn't mysteriously fail again. Andre stood tall, hands relaxed, eyes steady. Because if the case number history existed, then the truth existed, and he was not leaving without it. The printer whirred again behind the glass, that dry mechanical sound that always made Andre think of forms nobody read until they needed to deny something. Sandra's hands moved with stiff precision as she pulled the page from the tray. She didn't look at Andre. She didn't look at Lieutenant Harris either. She stared at the paper like it had personally betrayed her. Andre waited, still and quiet. He'd learned that in places like this, stillness could be a weapon. Not the aggressive kind, more like a refusal to give them anything they could twist. No raised voice, no big gestures, no attitude. Just a man standing there with the patience of someone who understood exactly how institutions tried to outlast you. Lieutenant Harris leaned toward the window. "What did you print?" Sandra's jaw tightened. "The submission receipt." Harris held out his hand without looking at Andre. "Let me see it." Sandra hesitated, tiny but real. Then she slid the page over. Harris scanned it quickly, his brow furrowed. He said, and in that one sound Andre heard. "This should have been done 10 minutes ago." Harris looked up at Andre. "This is the temporary reference. It's tied to the pending report entry. Most insurance companies will accept it, and it will convert to the final case number once the report is approved." Andre nodded once. "I need something that shows it was filed on Wednesday." Harris tapped the paper with a finger. "It does. Timestamp and submission ID are here." Andre's shoulders loosened slightly, but he didn't relax fully. Not yet. He'd learned that "here you go" sometimes turned into "that's not valid" the moment you walked away. "Can you also provide the event history?" Andre asked calmly. "The record of the report being submitted, pending, and linked to the call." Sandra finally looked up, eyes sharp. "That's internal." Andre kept his tone polite. "My insurance adjuster asked for a case number and proof the report was filed. This station just told me it didn't exist. I need documentation that it does." Sandra's voice turned chilly. "You got the receipt. That's enough." Andre didn't argue with her directly. He looked at Harris. "Lieutenant?" Harris exhaled through his nose, the kind of exhale that meant he didn't enjoy this, but he understood it. "Sandra," Harris said, "pull the case number history view, the activity timeline, print the summary." Sandra's mouth tightened. "We don't usually print that." Harris didn't blink. "Print it." The lobby felt tighter again, as if the air itself understood that this wasn't just a clerical request. This was about who got believed. Andre heard a soft shuffle behind him, someone in the waiting chairs adjusting position, listening harder. The security officer near the entrance stayed close, eyes flicking between Andre and the counter, waiting for a reason. Andre didn't give him one. Sandra clicked into the system again, movements clipped. Harris watched her screen over her shoulder, face stern. Andre couldn't see the monitor, but he could read the tension in Sandra's posture. This time, she was being made to show the truth she'd tried to bury under policy. A moment later, Sandra froze. Harris leaned in. "There." Sandra's voice came out through clenched teeth. "It's here. Harris, read the activity." Sandra hesitated. Then she read, each word sounding like it tasted bad. Call for service. Wednesday, 10:38 p.m. Andre's chest tightened. He kept his face neutral. Sandra continued, quieter now. Unit dispatched, 10:41. Unit arrived, 10:52. Andre remembered that time exactly, the way he'd been standing beside his broken window, glass glittering under the streetlight like ice. Sandra kept reading. Report initiated, 11:06. Statement recorded, 11:14. Harris nodded once, watching her. And? Sandra swallowed. Report submitted, 11:27. Status, pending approval. Andre felt something like vindication, sharp and cold. Not satisfaction, just the relief of having reality confirmed in a place that had tried to erase it. Harris looked at Andre. You see, it's all time-stamped. Andre nodded. Yes, thank you. Sandra's hands moved again. The printer started up, spitting out another page. While it printed, Andre said, calm but direct. So when Ms. Klein told me there was no report, that was inaccurate. Sandra's eyes flashed. It wasn't searchable by name. Andre's tone stayed steady. You didn't tell me it's pending and not searchable by name. You told me, if there's no report in the system, there's no report. The waiting area went quiet in that particular way, people pretending they weren't listening while they absolutely were. Harris didn't look pleased. He didn't look angry either. He looked like a man deciding what kind of correction mattered today. He turned to Sandra. When someone says they filed a report and they didn't receive a case number, you search by address and incident type first, not just by name. Sandra's face flushed. Yes, Lieutenant. Harris's tone sharpened. And you don't escalate security because a citizen asks for verification. Sandra's eyes widened slightly, guilty surprise. The security officer shifted awkwardly, as if suddenly aware he'd been used as a pressure tool. Andre didn't smile. He didn't want anyone punished out of spite. He wanted the system to work without him having to perform perfect calm to access it. The printer finished. Sandra tore off the paper and slid it toward Harris. Harris scanned it, then pushed it through the slot to Andre. Andre took it carefully. It was a simple printed summary. No dramatic headings, just facts. Call received, Wednesday 10:38, p.m. dispatch, 10:41 p.m. Arrival, 10:52 p.m. report. Initiated, 11:06 p.m. Submitted, 11:27 p.m. Status, pending approval submission. Reference, SR-2, 9A71, example format. Andre read it twice to make sure his eyes weren't betraying him. There it was. History, a trail. A record that couldn't be waved away with, we don't have it. Andre tucked the papers into his folder, but he didn't step away yet. One more thing, Andre said, still calm. Sandra's shoulders tensed. Harris looked at Andre. Go ahead. Andre kept his voice even. I want the name and badge number of the responding officer, so I can reference it if my insurer asks why the report was pending. Sandra looked ready to argue again, but Harris spoke first. That's reasonable, Harris said. Sandra, pull the unit information. Sandra typed, jaw tight. A moment later, she slid another small printout through. Responding unit, officer name, badge number. Andre accepted it without comment. He could feel the urge to say something sharp, to point out how easy this had become once a lieutenant was involved, to ask why he had to climb a ladder of authority for a basic record. But he didn't. He didn't because he wasn't here for a speech. He was here for what he needed. And now he had it. Harris looked at Andre with a controlled professionalism that felt slightly different than when he'd first arrived. Less like assessment, more like acknowledgement. I'm sorry you had to come down here for this, Harris said. Andre's eyebrows lifted slightly. An apology. Real, even if small. Andre nodded once. I appreciate you finding it. Harris lowered his voice. The pending queue can get backed up, but you shouldn't have been told it didn't exist. Andre held his gaze. I wasn't told it didn't exist because of a queue. Harris didn't argue. His jaw tightened slightly, like he understood the subtext and didn't want to say it out loud. Andre turned to leave, papers secured, folder tucked under his arm. As he walked toward the door, the security officer stepped aside and avoided eye contact. The waiting room's eyes followed Andre, then drifted away. Outside, the cold air hit Andre's face and felt cleaner than the lobby's stale disinfectant. He stood on the steps for a moment and took out his phone. He snapped a photo of the printed summary, just in case paper went missing later. Then he emailed the photo and the PDFs to himself with the subject line: Police report proof, submission reference plus activity timeline. He also forwarded it to his insurance adjuster with a short note: Report filed Wednesday night. Temporary reference attached with activity timestamps. Final case number pending approval. He hit send. Then he exhaled, slow. The world didn't suddenly feel fair. Andre wasn't naive enough for that, but he felt something important settle in his chest. He had control again, not over what happened to his car, not over the way people looked at him when he asked for what he was owed, but over the record. And in systems like this, the record was power. Andre walked back to his car, hands steady, head high. Because today, the station couldn't rewrite the story. The history was retrieved. And history, once printed and dated, didn't disappear just because someone wished it would.